Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie RC Playground and welcome to another unboxing. Today we're going to be looking at the ZD Racing 9116 1/8 scale monster truck, also known as the Pirates 2. Now this came to me as a roller and I picked it up from Banggood, so please be sure to check out the video description. I'll have a link in there to the truck where you can read up a little bit more on it and get some more information. And as you can see, it arrived pretty well. Now originally when I get packages like this and they come in brown cardboard boxes, you would think that the actual box of the product is inside and this is just a protective sort of outer layer. But that's not the case at all. This is the actual box of the product, and believe it or not, it came packaged up just like this, with no foam, no extra cardboard, nothing extra to really protect the truck. This is how the truck arrived. So I'm a little bit surprised by this, although I have received, a couple of planes in the past that came sort of packaged up in a similar fashion. There's usually foam in there to protect it all and do all that sort of thing, but there's really nothing in this one, so I don't know what to make of this one. Now, admittedly, this is a fairly cheap truck. I think this retails for under 200 bucks US. It works out to about 280 Australian, and then of course you got to add your postage and your taxes and everything else. I think I put one of these in my shopping cart just to see what it would be worth, and I think it worked out to be about $320 or thereabouts. So that's roughly the price of this by the time you have it shipped to your door. So I suppose we'll start with some of these little goodies that we've got here. We have the user manual. There's a couple of double-sided bits of foam here. There's these little adapters for your servo horn, so depending on the spline of the servo that you're using, there's one there that should hopefully fit. And what's this on the back? You've got some zip ties here on the back as well to tidy up your wires. That's it. No antenna tubes, nothing else in here. And as you can see, there's no tools that they provide for you either. You got to provide your own. Over here, it looks like the servo mount sort of bracket thing. This looks like the which is connected kind of like to the the receiver box. There's a motor mount, some hardware, and there is a pinion floating around in here as well. It looks like a small one. It could be like a 12, maybe 13 tooth at best. That'll be just that little guy there. And of course has the little 5mm inner hole. The tires themselves, huge amount of recess. The wheels don't look too bad. I don't mind, pretty straightforward. The tires, I don't have a lot of hope for a lot of grip. They don't feel hard or anything like that. They actually feel half decent. But it's just a tread pattern. I just don't know how these are going to work. Maybe on like muddy terrain, maybe even on some grass, they might be, they might work pretty well. But I think in the gravel, like in the BMX track that I normally go to, I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to call it just yet because they don't feel too bad. They're just a tread pattern I'm a bit concerned about. So here it is. Here's the truck itself. I'll give you the old spin around so you can see it up close. That is it there. Note that there is no rear bumper or wheelie bar back here. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So we'll take the body off, and I kind of wanted to do this with a truck like this because it's been a while since I've actually reviewed one of these sort of like cheaper brands or lesser known brands, sort of cheaper products. I have been doing a lot of armor. I've obviously, got my hands on the Proline truck. So, these are all quality products. But it's been a long time since I've done something like this. So I figured, what? Let's do something quick. You'll see the unboxing here. I'll install the electrics and then we'll go out, bash it, and I might do the bash video and review all in one just to really make it nice and round and tidy. So the body itself doesn't feel too bad, although I will say I don't think this is proper Lexan and it's going to shatter just like the one that I had on my DHK Zombie has in the past. And it really comes down to, you might pick it up here. I'm hoping the camera picks this up, but the body kind of turns white and you put a bit of a kink in it. Now, I noticed this was turning white, like it was already like this out of the box. And then I sort of put a bit of a bend to it and you can sort of see how it starts turning white. So that's a poor sign. That's not a good thing. We'll see how that goes. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of bling here. There's a lot of aluminium. The front and rear are very, very similar, except the rear's got longer shocks. But we'll start with the front end here. There's a tiny little bumper. You've got adjustable body posts. These shock towers look to be about 4, maybe 5 mil thick, but they do thin out to about 3 mil back here. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but they do thin out over here. And then of course you've got your pre-installed sway bars, you have aluminium steering knuckles, 4mm drive shafts here, and they do have universals. And what's the best way to show you this? Probably through this way. You might be able to see the universal there. Then we've got on the opposite side, we've got an adjustable servo saver. There's also aluminium hinge pin braces on the bottom A-arms. There's another one on the top A-arm here. As we move along, we've got a chassis brace, which doesn't look too thick, but they do have, it's quite thick or wide rather on the bottom. And you've got 2 bolts there holding that in place. Underneath the chassis, as you can see, all countersunk, all quite nice. Everything uses hex hardware, which is good to see. So yeah, very, very good. Now, as we move on to the rear of the truck, there start to be some, you start to notice a couple of problems. Problem number one, and let's talk about the motor mount. It's actually a sliding motor mount, which is, it's a good thing. I don't mind that. But you'll start to notice as I bring this up close that the center diff's got an enormous amount of shine. So that is oil that is pouring out of that center diff. There's also oil on the bottom of the chassis there. You might see the reflection. So there's a big puddle of oil on the bottom. There's oil all over the spur gear, all over the diff case. Oil, oil, oil. There's oil everywhere. So I'm going to have to rebuild this center diff before I even put the electrics in and take this thing out for a bash. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is this battery tray over here. 3 battery straps. You'd think, great, what's wrong with the battery tray? It's too damn small. I've tried to fit a standard 4S battery in here and it doesn't fit unless I start hacking into this side panel. 2 2S batteries don't fit either. So the only thing that kind of fits is like a 3S battery. That's really the only thing that sort of fits in here. Or you might be able to squeeze a 4S battery in here. If it's a soft pack and it's a particular shape, you might be able to get it in. But it's not long enough, it's not wide enough. You've obviously got heaps of height, so that's probably your only advantage. So maybe you can mount the battery sideways somehow. I don't know. Yeah, that's another problem. And then we move on to this rear chassis brace. Rear chassis brace, really nice and wide on the bottom again, so 2 screws there holding it in place, comes up and then it holds to this teensy-weensy little plastic piece on top of the bulkhead. And there's nothing to reinforce that. So the minute that this flexes and there's a bit of pressure on this brace, it's just going to rip that plastic piece clean off the top of the bulkhead. So that's a poor design. And it kind of looks like there's a whole back section of this truck that's missing because there's a great big opening here which would have allowed for some plastic to come through and mount onto a bumper bar, which then would have added some strength and, it kind of would have made sense. But like this, nah, yeah, I don't hold much hope for this. The rear A-arms also have aluminium chassis braces, hinge pin braces, which is a good thing. That's a plus. You already have aluminium hub carriers on the back. So again, another plus. Standard dog bones in the rear, sway bar already on there. There's aluminium, shock standoffs on the front and rear. So this is all good stuff. Adjustable body posts, all good things. But without a rear bumper, without a decent sized battery tray, and with this sort of problem coming out of the box, there's a lot of question marks that have been asked about this truck already before I even run it. And I really don't know how this is going to go. So I'm hoping it holds up. I'm hoping, really, really hoping it holds up. But, because of all these little things, I had this idea of putting like a 1/8 scale system in this. I was actually going to take out a BLX 185 system out of one of my Armors, and I was going to throw it in here, and I was going to put some other system in one of my other Armor cars. But I changed my mind because I think that a 1/8 scale, proper 1/8 scale system in here may just completely detonate the truck. I mean, it's just an inspiring confidence here. And not just that, but I can't run 6S. 4S barely fits in there. So let's dial it down a little bit. On top of all that, this is not a big 1/8 scale monster truck. It's actually about the same size as the Pro MT. from memory. It's not much different. So you probably can get away with a 10 scale system as long as it's a good 10 scale system. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. This is the Turnigy 3665 3190 kV brushless motor. You can see it's had a ding in here. This was the motor that was on my Slash, my four-wheel drive Ultimate Slash. And this is a RC Gear Shop ESC, which is really a rebranded Hobbywing ESC. It's 120 amps. It can run to 4S. I don't think this will run 4S though. So we'll stick to a 3S. And if I remember correctly, you know, the Slash was plenty quick with this motor, had plenty of torque and power. I'm hoping that this will be enough for this truck. For a servo, this is all donor parts, by the way. So this is the servo out of my Sen Reaper, the Crazy Chaos Reaper, if you remember that little project I did a while ago, which I will revisit very soon. So that truck came with the servo that never been used. I just simply took it out and I'm going to put it in here. I figured if it's strong enough to come on a Reaper, should be strong enough for that. For radio, I'm using this guy, just a Tactic TTX 300. This one I didn't get with my Armour cars, so you'll notice there's a couple of subtle differences. The branding is colored, the lettering here is white. This is a silver wheel, not a black wheel. So this one came separate. I've had it for a number of years. It was I think I used it on my Berserker roller when I first got that. So, and I used it in one other car at some stage. It's been bouncing around from car to car, and now it's going to go in here. Now, if the motor for this doesn't quite work out, you know, it doesn't give me the power that I want, or there's a performance issue, then we have this guy. If you remember my Sabertooth Truggy from a few years ago, I've sold the Truggy. I actually sold it to a friend, but I kept the motor. And this is a 3670 something, 74 maybe. It's an 1845 kV. And I remember this being plenty fast for the Sabertooth, but it was on 4S, let's not forget. So if I have to get a 4S battery that fits in here, maybe we'll try that and just see how we go. But I'm hoping that this will be okay. That's fingers crossed. So that is pretty much where I'm going to leave this one. You can see that this is the truck. I think you can get this one as a ready to run as well. There is a Truggy version which I was thinking about getting, but I don't know. Depending on how this goes, maybe I'll get the Truggy version later on down the line and review that as well. But if this ends up being a disaster, then chances are I'm not even going to bother with the Truggy version. I'll just say, you know, stay away from this because yes, it is cheap. You can obviously get away with some fairly cheap components like what I'm doing here. This is a real budget project. This is going to be ready to run probably for under 400 bucks. So, you know, it's a pretty cheap truck for what it is. But we'll see how it goes. You know, maybe this is a really good bargain. Maybe this is an absolute mess that we should stay away from. We'll find out in the next video. Stay tuned. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button, all that good stuff. Check the video description. There'll be a link in there to the truck, links to my social media pages. I thank you all very much for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.